how to get rid of anger and rage. Hello, friends. Today, we will talk about anger and rage, emotions that each of us has experienced in life. We will analyze why anger arises, how it affects us and others, and most importantly, how to deal with it using the philosophy of Buddhism. Anger is a fire inside us that can incinerate not only ourselves, but also our loved ones. However, Buddhist wisdom teaches that we do not have to be slaves to our emotions. We can transform anger into understanding and compassion. In Buddhism, anger is considered one of the three poisonous emotions, along with greed and ignorance. Anger, like a wildfire, engulfs our mind, depriving us of the ability to think clearly and understand reality. Buddha said, "Holding on to anger is like grabbing a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. You burn yourself first." This is a powerful reminder that anger hurts the person who experiences it first. Let's look at the main causes of anger: expectations and reality. We expect people to behave in a certain way, and when this does not happen, we feel irritated. Attachment to our views. We tend to think that our ideas are the only right ones, and when someone disagrees with them, anger flares up inside us. Fear and insecurity. Often, anger is just a mask for deep fears and self-doubt. Past experience. Sometimes our reactions are connected with childhood traumas or unresolved grievances. Imagine a situation. You are in a traffic jam, late for an important meeting, and the driver in front of you is moving too slowly. Your first reaction is irritation, maybe even anger. You start honking, getting angry, feeling tension in your body. But let's look at this from a Buddhist perspective. This person may be an elderly driver who is not confident behind the wheel, or maybe he just got some bad news and can't concentrate. In any situation, your anger won't change the circumstances. It will only make you unhappy. One of the key Buddhist principles is mindfulness. When we realize that we are angry, we gain the ability to manage it, rather than being its victim. The next time you feel angry, try the following. Stop and become aware of your state. Acknowledge that you are angry, but don't let it take over you. Take a deep breath and exhale, focusing on your breathing. This is the first step towards freeing yourself from anger. We have already discussed what anger is, why it arises, and how mindfulness helps us notice it. Now let's talk about how to transform it. Buddhist philosophy suggests not fighting anger, but directing its energy into a constructive channel. After all, suppressed anger does not disappear. It remains inside us and over time can destroy the body and mind. How can you turn anger into understanding and kindness? One of the key principles is the practice of metta or loving kindness. Buddha taught that when we feel anger, it is important not to dwell on the object of our indignation, but to develop the opposite qualities: patience, compassion, and goodwill. Imagine that someone was rude to you in a line or wrote an offensive comment on the internet. Your first reaction is to respond in kind, but instead, try mentally wishing this person happiness and freedom from suffering. After all, there is always pain behind aggression. A person who harms others is deeply unhappy themselves. Perhaps they had a difficult childhood, stress, losses, or internal conflicts that they don't know how to express in any other way. Buddhist practice offers an exercise. Every time you encounter something irritating, mentally say to yourself, "May this person be happy. May he or she be free from suffering." At first, this may seem artificial, but over time, your heart will become softer. Anger will subside and calm will take its place. Another important aspect is patience. In the sutras, Buddha compares patience to the majestic earth. No matter how much dirt or garbage people throw at it, it remains unchanged. We should strive for the same calm. When someone offends you, ask yourself, is this moment worth your inner peace? What is more important, to prove you are right, or to maintain harmony within yourself? A good example is a situation at work. Your colleague does something that irritates you, chews noisily, does not complete tasks correctly, interrupts at meetings. You can either get irritated and angry or realize this person is just like that, and your indignation will not change his behavior. You can calmly explain to him what is bothering you, or just let the situation go. Another method of anger management is the awareness of its temporary nature. Any emotion, even the strongest, is not eternal. If you give yourself time, do not give in to the impulse, the anger will gradually fade. The next time you feel angry, try taking a break. Count to 10. Switch your attention to your breathing. Possibly. But in a few minutes, what seems so important will no longer cause such strong emotions. Anger is just energy, and we can direct it in a useful direction. Instead of getting irritated by injustice, you can try to correct it. Instead of getting angry at someone else's mistakes, you can help correct them. This takes practice, but the more often you consciously choose calm, the easier it will become. We have already discussed the nature of anger and how to transform it through mindfulness, patience, and the practice of loving kindness. Now, it's time to talk about meditation, a powerful tool that helps not only to reduce anger, but also to understand your emotions more deeply. In Buddhism, meditation is central to the practice of working with the mind. One of the most effective techniques for managing anger is mindfulness meditation. It helps us observe emotions without getting involved in them, creating space between the irritant and our reaction. Let's try a simple exercise. When you feel angry, sit in a comfortable position, close your eyes, and focus on your breathing. Feel the air coming in and out of your nostrils. Realize that your body is currently experiencing anger, but it is just an emotion that has come and will go. Instead of resisting it or getting caught up in it, imagine that you are observing it from the outside. Let the anger dissolve on its own, like smoke that dissipates in the air. Another useful technique is metta meditation, loving kindness meditation. It involves sending good wishes first to yourself, then to loved ones, then to neutral people, and finally even to those who cause you negative emotions. For example, you can mentally repeat, "May I be happy. May I be free from suffering." Then send the same wishes to someone you love, then to a random stranger, and finally to someone who has hurt you. This is a difficult practice, but it helps to break the habit of irritation and anger. It is important to understand that meditation is not an instant release from emotions, but a training of the mind. The more often you practice, the easier it will be for you to cope with anger in everyday life. Imagine that your mind is a wild horse. If you have never trained, it will be uncontrollable. But if you practice regularly, you will gradually learn to direct it where you need it. Buddhist monks practice meditation for hours, but you do not need to devote so much time to it. Even 5 to 10 minutes a day can significantly change your ability to control emotions. The main thing is regularity. Try to devote time every day to silence, observation of your thoughts, and inner peace. Another aspect that will help you cope with anger is the awareness of its impermanence. Buddhism teaches that all phenomena, including emotions, come and go. When you are angry, try to remind yourself that this emotion is temporary, that in a few minutes or hours it will subside. Observe this process without getting involved in it. This will give you a sense of control and help you avoid impulsive actions. The deeper we go into meditation, the easier it is for us to understand that the source of all emotions is within us, not outside. Other people and circumstances only trigger mechanisms that already exist in our minds. Therefore, true liberation from anger is possible only through inner work. We have already talked about the nature of anger, ways to transform it, and the power of meditation. Now let's delve deeper into the concept of karma and see how our reactions to angry situations shape the future. Buddhism teaches that all our actions, thoughts, and emotions create karmic consequences. Anger is not just a temporary emotion, it leaves a mark on our consciousness and forms a habit. The more often we give in to anger, the more deeply it takes root in us, and the easier it will be for us to be angry in the future. It's like a path in the forest. The more you walk on it, the wider and more noticeable it becomes. But there's good news. We can consciously form other habits in the same way: patience, kindness, and understanding. If we react to irritating situations consciously, without giving in to anger, we pave a new path, a road to calm and wisdom. Let's say someone rudely bumps into you on public transport or on the street. The first reaction is a flash of irritation, a desire to respond in kind. But if at that moment you stop and realize, if I respond to evil with evil, it will only increase negative karma. You will have a choice. You can break this cycle. Perhaps the person who pushed you was simply in a hurry or did not even notice it. Your calmness will preserve your energy and will not create new causes for suffering. Buddha said, "No enemy can cause as much harm as your own uncontrolled mind." When we give in to anger, we harm ourselves first and foremost. We poison our consciousness, create internal tension, which then accumulates in the body. Anger can lead to health problems, insomnia, headaches, worsening relationships with loved ones. By freeing ourselves from it, we not only improve our future, but also experience immediate relief. The practice of mindfulness and kindness helps us change our karma. The next time someone says something unpleasant to you, try to perceive it as a test of your inner resilience. Look at the situation as an opportunity to develop patience and compassion. It is not a weakness, but a real strength. Not to allow external circumstances to control your mind. A simple method that can be used is the practice of stop moment. When you feel yourself getting irritated, Imagine that you are pressing pause on a movie. Take a few deep breaths. Remember that your anger is just a wave of emotion that will soon subside. If possible, smile. Even a slight smile helps the brain perceive the situation less tensely. There is another interesting aspect of karma. When we respond to anger with kindness, not only do we not make the situation worse, but we also have a chance to change the other person's behavior. For example, if someone yelled at you and instead of responding with aggression, you said, "I understand that you are going through a difficult time right now. How can I help?" Then the person may become aware of their outburst and even calm down. Of course, this requires training. No one becomes enlightened in one day. But if you begin to apply these principles, you will notice that it becomes easier to control anger each time. Your calmness will become your weapon, not for attack, but for protecting your inner peace. In the next part, we will look at how to create a harmonious life free of anger and apply Buddhist principles in everyday situations. Anger is a fire inside us that can incinerate not only ourselves, but also our loved ones. However, Buddhist wisdom teaches that we do not have to be slaves to our emotions. We can transform anger into understanding and compassion. In Buddhism, anger is considered one of the three toxic emotions, along with greed and ignorance. Anger, like a wildfire, engulfs our minds, depriving us of the ability to think clearly and perceive reality. Buddha said, "Holding on to anger is like grabbing a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. You burn yourself first." This is a powerful reminder that anger primarily harms the one who experiences it. Let's look at the main causes of anger: expectations and reality. We expect people to behave in a certain way, and when this does not happen, we feel irritated. Attachment to our views. We tend to believe that our ideas are the only correct ones, and when someone disagrees with them, anger flares up inside us. Fear and insecurity. Often, anger is just a mask for deep fears and insecurities. Past experience. Sometimes, our reactions are rooted in childhood trauma or unresolved grievances. Imagine this. You are stuck in a traffic jam, running late for an important meeting, and there is a driver in front of you who is driving too slowly. Your first reaction is irritation, maybe even anger. You start honking your horn, getting angry, feeling tension in your body. But let's look at it from a Buddhist perspective. This person may be an elderly driver who is not confident behind the wheel. Or perhaps he has just received bad news and cannot concentrate. In any situation, your anger will not change the circumstances. It will only make you unhappy. One of the key Buddhist principles is mindfulness. When we realize that we are experiencing anger, we gain the ability to manage it, rather than being its victim. The next time you feel angry, try the following. Stop and become aware of your state. Acknowledge that you are feeling angry, but do not let it take over you. Take a deep breath and exhale. Focus on your breathing. The first and most important point is awareness. The more we are present in the present moment, the less dependent we are on automatic emotional reactions. In most cases, anger is an unconscious habit, ingrained over the years. But the good news is that any habit can be changed. If you notice every day when irritation is just beginning to appear, you will be able to stop it in its tracks. Try to observe your emotions throughout the day without judging them. Just note, right now, irritation is arising in me. This simple practice creates distance between you and your emotion. It gives you the opportunity to choose, to succumb to anger, or to let it go. The next step is to practice patience and acceptance. Life will not meet our expectations. People will not always behave the way we want. But if we learn to accept reality as it is, our anger will gradually subside. There is a metaphor in Buddhism. If the earth is hot and prickly, you can try to cover it with a carpet or just put on shoes. We cannot control the whole world, but we can change our attitude towards it. Another important principle, developing compassion. When we are angry with someone, we feel that this person is the source of our suffering. But if we look deeper, we will see that behind their actions is their own pain. By practicing compassion, we do not justify bad actions, but we stop taking them personally. Try asking yourself the next time someone angers you, what pain is behind their words and actions? This will create space for understanding and reduce the intensity of emotions. Perhaps the person who offended you is going through a difficult time themselves. Perhaps they do not know how to express their feelings in any other way. By perceiving the world from a position of compassion, you not only reduce anger, but also help others change their behavior. It is also important to remember impermanence. All emotions come and go. Today, something irritates us, but tomorrow we may not even remember it. So is it worth giving so much energy to something that disappears so quickly? Buddhist monks often use a simple reminder, this too shall pass. When you feel anger taking over, repeat this phrase and see how your perception changes. Practice gratitude. Anger often arises from focusing on shortcomings, people, situations, yourself. But if you consciously switch your attention to the good, anger weakens. Keep a gratitude journal. Every evening, write down at least 3 things you are grateful for. This will help your mind reorient from negativity to positivity. And finally, take your time. Getting rid of anger is not an instant process, but a path. Sometimes there will be breakdowns. Sometimes anger will still prevail. And this is normal. The main thing is to continue the practice. Gradually, you will notice that situations that previously caused a storm of emotions now leave you calm. Your inner balance will become stronger and your life more harmonious. Remember, anger is not an enemy that needs to be destroyed. It is a teacher who shows where there is still work to do in us. Use it as a tool for self-development, and then it will stop controlling your life. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If you found it useful, please share your thoughts in the comments. Which method is closest to you? What techniques have you tried? Let's discuss it together. See you in the next videos.